Juliet, and yes, I love to win. So I'll be checking out the Past the Wire Breeders' Cup seminar. I'll see you there.
How are we going to do this Breeders' Cup seminar? I'll tell you how. Like a well-oiled machine. That's how we're going to do it. No matter what, there are certain places that are always the best place to be. And the Past the Wire annual Breeders' Cup seminar has always been one of them. And that's not going to change, but this year we're going to do things a little bit differently. Yes, it's all about winning and trying to win, and who gets the key to the AMG. So what are we going to do? We're going to make a concise PDF that covers everything we normally cover in our seminars. We're still going to blast out of that gate and try and finish fastest of all. We are going to drive this thing like a fine-tuned race car, covering everything that matters. And if things work out, we're going to need a machine to count all the money so we can do some shopping at Cartier and Louis Vuitton. And if we win this battle, our significant others are going to look like this and be awfully happy. The first ever Past the Wire annual Breeders' Cup report, a PDF specifically for you, and a private Q&A as well for everybody who rides with us. Ciao a tutti. Hope everybody is well. It's coming. Breeders' Cup. We're going to be ready. It's never, ever, ever too early to start preparing to attack the Breeders' Cup races. And at this point, I would say it's almost a little late to get started. So we are into the work, watching replays, studying, taking notes, doing everything that you're supposed to be doing early on, so that when the pre-entries come out and the actual past performances come out, you are 100% plus ready. We are going to do this like a well-oiled machine. So with that, like I say, you ring, we bring. You ask, we deliver. Several people asked me about the Thorograph shows we're doing and if we're going to be doing any for the Breeders' Cup. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have the time really to do any Breeders' Cup races by the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns. But we will be getting into that at the seminar. So if you don't have a spot, get one. Simple as that. But we are going to be doing a lot of stuff before that. And what I'm going to try and do now, what I did was, this is kind of like a special show. We're going to do our regular Thorograph show this week, but as a bonus, I picked 4 races. What did I pick? I picked the Juvenile, the Distaff, the Turf, and the Classic. And we're going to go over a couple of the patterns of key horses in each one of those races to get a kind of idea of where, well, I don't want to say where things are landing, but I would say how things are stacking up and looking early out. So we've got the Juvenile, look at a couple of key horses there. We've got the Distaff, look at a couple of key fillies and mares there. Obviously, Torpedo Anna is out. I wish that she was in because I was going to bet against her. At least I was leaning that way, early on. But she's out. We've got the Turf, which is one of my most anticipated races. And then we got the Classic, which looks like it's going to be an epic classic this year for sure. So we will get into this, see where we land. Well, not where we land, but where we identify who's fast, who's not that fast. And again, we're only doing a couple of key contenders in these races. Obviously, we can't do them all now. We don't even know for sure who's running yet. So this is just like a bonus. Let's get ready show. And if I can do a race, I know in the past I've done the Breeders' Cup Classic by the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns. If I can do one race this year, I will. But just timing wise, I don't know that I'm going to be able to. So I don't want to promise it and then fall short on anybody. So without further ado, we'll get into the juvenile. We'll start with the 2-year-olds. I mean, Ted Nafi just really outlooks the competition at this early stage, and we've got some good looking competition to outlook. But he's got everything going for him, including that sweet win in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland around 2 turns. Obviously the non-California horses are going to have to bring their game on the road and head out west and do it out there. But damn, he looked good. But let's see how they all look. Well, not all the key ones on the numbers and patterns, and see what we got. And what I did was, just so you know, a couple of the horses I plugged in that I had my eye on, but most of them I took in these 4 races right from the Breeders' Cup website, the leading contenders that they had listed. So I figured maybe they know something that I don't know about who's running and who's not. So if they had them listed as leading contenders, I went with the leading contenders, except for a couple that I mixed and matched because they were on my radar, or I wanted to take an early look at them. So here we go, the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns. And let me tell you, like I say, when you do these kind of races, you're going to see a lot of good numbers and a lot of good patterns. That's just how it is. In Torpedo, they had right on top. So he's here. And he's got a nice pattern, not all that fast, but he's got, 11 3/4, 9, 6 1/4. So he showed nice progression. 2 races at Del Mar, 1 at Santa Anita. It's gone forward in every start. But I tend to think that the Breeders' Cup Juvenile will be won by a faster number than 6 1/4. So even if he goes forward 2 or 3 points, I think it's questionable to me if that's going to be enough. Ted Nafi, what kind of pattern does this potential star for Spendthrift Farm, one of our longtime sponsors? Always great to see them in these big races, and that does happen a lot, as we know. Ted Nafi, what do we got? We got 9.5 at Saratoga, 1 at Saratoga in that monster race, and then that Keeneland race that he sat a beautiful trip in, he gets a 3.5. So 9.5, 1, regresses a little off the 1, comes back relatively quicker than he did last time in the juvenile. So what can we say about his pattern? I mean, the 1 is obviously very, very fast. The 3.5 is obviously very, very fast. He did regress off that race. Now, did that race knock him out where he's going the wrong way? I can't say that off the way he won that last race. I mean, the numbers don't lie, but neither do our eyes. I would say he goes forward and goes back close to that 1 if he handles the trip out there and handles the Del Mar track, which can be a little bit tricky, but not as tricky as some of the others that we've dealt with. I mean, we deal with Tampa, which is a great track to leg up on, but it is a tricky track. Parks is a little bit of a tricky track. Kentucky Downs, turf course, we know how we feel about that. But I tend to think Ted Nafi is looking at, a better race than that 3.5. So look out, because that's pretty fast. Desert Gate, steady, and he's got that thing that I like, and that's that, steadiness to him, but getting a little better. But he kind of raised a question mark last time, because he went 7, 6, 6. that I loved. And then I was looking for that forward move, and he didn't tail off that much. He tailed off a little to a 7.5, and I don't love that. I love those paired sixes, but I thought without a significant excuse, he should have run a better race last time, and he didn't. So I'm not really wild about that. Brant is another interesting one. Brant has got all the potential in the world, comes from Bob, which we know is as good as anybody ever at winning these big races and getting these horses ready. So that's, definitely a factor that comes into play. But this horse runs a 2.5 first time out and then runs a 6. I believe he's going 2 turns for the first time. He's another one that may have regressed off that big number first time out and now goes back to it or goes back forward, which is what I tend to think is going to happen with Brant. So I would say we can see him back around that 2.5 or better, and that puts him right there with Spendthrift's horse, Ted Nafi, with that 1. So if they both go forward, we may see a Breeders' Cup Juvenile 0 winner, or maybe even a 0 or 1 negative winner. Not impossible with these kind of horses. Now, another horse that looked freaky good, which wasn't on the Breeders' Cup list, and maybe he's not running, maybe that's why, I don't know, but I think the Champagne was a win and you're in, and he certainly won that race as easy as a horse could win a race, and that was Napoleon Solo. He went from an 8.5 to Saratoga to a 2.25 in the Champagne, and did it in what looked like a friggin' gallop. 2 turns is a little bit different. Out at Del Mar, a little bit different. But, I mean, that horse just looked like every bit of a runner. It doesn't come from a high-profile, barn like some of these others. But Chad Summers did okay with that Mind Your Biscuits horse. So it's not like he can't, get the job done if he's got an animal that can run. And it certainly looks like he does, because Napoleon Solo humbled that field. And Tom Amos's horse, who was highly regarded, win by 17 lengths at Saratoga, which you don't see very often. This horse looked like he was in a different race than that horse. So 8.5, 2.25, very good pattern for a 2-year-old, heading into the Breeders' Cup. Another one looks like a 1, 0, maybe even a 0 or a 1 negative. So you got 3 horses out of these, couple that we looked at here. We looked at it Intrepido, Ted Nafi, Desert Gate, Brant, Napoleon Solo, and we got 3 of the 5 that look like they could hit negative or go into the negative numbers. So it looks like we're going to have a very fast winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile this year, and that'll probably stamp them as the favorite for the Kentucky Derby next year. So let's see, and we're only looking at a couple of the horses. There's more. So that's the leading contenders according to the Breeders' Cup website, with one addition by me, and that's how those horses shape up. Now, again, for those in the back, because I get this comment all the time, well, who did you pick? Who did you like? We're not picking horses with these Thorograph shows. We're not handicapping the race. We're using Thorograph as a tool to see who's fast, who's not fast enough, who's getting faster, who's too slow, who's getting slower. We're looking for that. We're not looking for, bang, that's who we're picking for the winner. So that's for the people in the back. All right, we'll take a little break in between these races, and we'll come back and we'll do the Distaff next. So hang tight.
Serious about horse racing or want to improve your game and level of play, or perhaps gain an edge without hours of work, you have to look at pace points. Pace makes the race, and projecting the race flow is invaluable for making smarter wagers. Pace points is an accurate pace projection tool based on real-time fractions along with intangibles down to things like jockey tendencies and additional factors like post position, track condition, and more. Pace points will help you identify who will be in front early and which horses will be running fastest late. if a race looks like there is a lot of speed, who will be the most likely leader? These are the types of things pace points highlight in an easy to read and understand format. If you want a better chance of winning, why wouldn't you want this at your fingertips? Pace points, learn more, try it out, and have a better grasp of the races.
Sure, bad coffee.
Are they talking about us? Shh. Wait. Are they talking about us? I think I heard Past the Wire. Past the Wire TV. They are talking about us. Often imitated, never duplicated. We are everywhere. Oh yeah, the Distaff. I tend to think that the Distaff is going to be one of the most wide open races on Saturday this year, especially with the loss of Torpedo Anna. And again, I was hoping she ran because I thought she was a bet against. Even if she won her last race, I thought she was going to be a bet against in the Distaff for my own reasons. After watching her campaign, I think she was the beneficiary of some perfect trips and setups, and taking nothing away from her. Her Travers was phenomenal. She ran some great races, but she did, in the races that she won, get some really, really sweet setups and trips. And I think that may have made her look a little bit better than she really was. Ken McPeak did a great job managing her, showcasing her, calling her the Grizzly Bear, and her showing up on Oaks Day and proving that she could be a Grizzly Bear in the right situation. But as unpopular as this may be, I think she was a little bit overrated, and I think she might have been vulnerable in some big spots. But doesn't matter now. She left it all on the racetrack and is retired. And she did have a great career, so taking nothing away from her. But now we've got a really, really wide open Distaff, and I love those races. I wish I would have had more horses to pull from in here, but I don't. We've only got a couple. I don't know if we've got the winner or not, but we've got Gin Gin, Seismic Beauty, Scylla, Nitrogen, and Scottish Lassie. And again, who knows who's going to be in there and how it's going to shape up. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Gin Gin kind of got good late in the game. As a 2-year-old, we got 13 and a quarter, 11 and a quarter, 7 3/4, 12. So typical. Patton didn't start that fast. Progressed, ran a big race, regressed off it a little bit, came back at 3, repeated her best number with 7 3/4, then tailed 10 3/4, 10 1/2, 20 3/4 at Churchill Downs. Came back this year, didn't start that good, but run a 15 at the fairgrounds, laid off, then got really good. 2 1/2, repeated the 2 1/2, 7 at Churchill Downs. So we've got 2 really bad races at Churchill Downs. Maybe she doesn't like it there, but she's got good races there too. So it's hard to say. But then the 2 1/2 at Keeneland, and now comes in off that 2 1/2. So little bit of a tricky pattern. She's paired the 2 1/2 in the past, but then she lays off, comes back, runs a 2 1/2. I tend to think she may regress a little bit here. Coming back quick off that fast race. She did equal her best race. Her best race is that 2 1/2, and she comes back a little bit fast off it. So I tend to look at her as a possible bounce or regression type of horse, and I don't like that going into a race like this. Seismic Beauty. No starts at 2. At 3, we got 7 1/4, 7 1/4. Pairs decent races, not outstanding or great races, but pairs decent races. Then At 4, what do we got? We got a 6 1/4, regresses to a 9 1/4, but then gets really good. 3 3 2. I like it. 3 3 2. That steady, gradual climb. I definitely see a forward move here. In my opinion, interestingly, she ran the 2 at Del Mar, which is where they will be running the Distaff. Definitely a forward moving pattern. If she goes forward off the 2, 2 points is a 0, 3 points is into the negative numbers, 0 negative, maybe a 1 negative. Definitely a forward moving pattern and definitely a fast race, probably coming from Seismic Beauty. Scylla runs a lot. Didn't run at 2, but certainly started making up for it at 4 and 5. But when she finally ran at 3, she ran fast. She always runs fast. She just doesn't close the deal a lot. But, and we had a horse like that on one of the shows recently too. I forget which Thorograph show it was, but we had a horse that always run fast and just doesn't close the deal. And you know what happened? Whoever it was ran fast and didn't close the deal. Might even been Scylla in another race. What do we got? At 3, we got a 1. First start ever, runs a 1. Hello, look at me. And then regresses off that a little bit, 3 1/2. Comes back at 4 at Gulfstream, 2, 5 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 1/2, 2 1/2, 2, 1 1/2, 1 1/2. All steady races. Runs a 1 1/2 at Del Mar last year. Comes back, Churchill Downs, 2. Saratoga, 2 1/2. Saratoga, 1 1/2. Saratoga, 1 1/2. Keeneland, 3. Now running back quick at Del Mar. I mean, there's no reason to think that she's not going to run a 3 or better. Is that going to be enough to win? I don't know. It would have to be better than the 3. One of her better numbers. But again, she runs those numbers and seems not to get the job done. Maybe eventually someday she will. It would certainly be a redeeming race for her in the Distaff to finally get it done in one of these big races, and it be the Breeders' Cup Distaff, because she certainly has the numbers to win a race like this. I got to question whether she's got the heart and the fight to do it, because she's been right there and again just hasn't closed the deal. And there's been different riders on her, different opportunities, different distance. Sprint, 2 turns. She's done it all, and just can't seem to deliver that big race on the big stage. The other factor is she's run a lot of those fast races without winning. Now I see 1 1/2, 1 1/2, 3. There is also the possibility that Scylla's starting to tail. So you got 2 things to get by with her. A, doesn't like to close the deal, the heart, fight, grit factor. And, B, maybe she's starting to tail. Nitrogen, heck of a 3-year-old this one turned out to be. And she fooled me a little bit, because I originally thought when she run that monster race in the slop at Saratoga that she was really a grass horse and that was an inflated race, but maybe not. At 2, we got 11, 9, 8 1/4. At 3, we got 9 1/2, 7, 7, 7, 2, 5 1/2, 2, 1. This is a 3-year-old that's getting better, that's got a forward-moving pattern, that's coming into her own, and that is very, very eligible to go forward again. She always showed those flashes, well, at least at 3, but, the last 4 races, 2, she was entitled to regress to that 5 1/2, but then she come back 2, 1, going forward. She is running back quick. That's a concern, but she's not over raced by any stretch of the imagination, and she's just getting good at the right time, and those are always dangerous. Now, last time she looked like she had it won, and the horse on the inside, Jin, come back and beat her, but that was then. This is now. We'll see. Scottish Lassie, the next one on the list, at 2, 11, 5 3/4, 8 1/2. At 3, didn't go forward first start out anyway, and I like when they do. But she's got a 10, a 5 3/4, a 0 monster race at Saratoga, and then she tailed and ran a 7.5. I tend to look at her pattern as the Saratoga race was an abnormality, anomaly, out of character kind of effort. And, we know she's capable of it under the right circumstances, but I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen in the Breeders' Cup Distaff at Del Mar. So I tend to think that, we'll see 5, 7, 6, maybe a 4, something like that, which is not going to be fast enough to win. Unless she, proves me wrong and fools me and runs that, what do you call it? That 0 race that she does have in her, and that puts her in there as a contender. But, I got to see it to believe it. So there you have the Distaff. I didn't know who else to put in there. I probably should have put some other horses in there, but I didn't know who. So this is who we got. And of the ones we got, I would say Nitrogen and Seismic Beauty are the ones that are jumping out at me as far as, the numbers and patterns looking like I like them to look going into a race like this. So we'll come back and we'll talk turf.
Seriously? If you're betting horses and not watching these shows, you gotta be freaking crazy. Capiche?
You're watching Past the Wire TV.
Oh, yeah. The turf is probably, well, in my opinion, the most intriguing race on the card. Yes, the Classic is going to be epic, but the Breeders' Cup Turf is really intriguing in my opinion. Now, mind you, Quipco Champions Day is Saturday at Ascot. And there's horses like Ombudsman that he's set to run on Saturday against Delacroix, who's probably not coming to the Breeders' Cup. I think he's retiring. Minnie Hawk just ran in the Arc, that unbelievable second. I think she's coming. I'm not sure whether she's going to run in the filly and mare turf or the turf against the boys after that race in the Arc. I tend to think she may wind up against the boys, but who knows? And I already, have my eye for a while on a horse in this race that I think is just, at his best, a monster. But it's an intriguing race. Let's see what the numbers tell us. I think this is a race that there's going to be a couple of horses inside the 16th pole that have chances. And then I think there's one that's going to just outkick them. But we'll see what happens. Great, makings of a great edition of the Breeders' Cup Turf, in my opinion. El Cordobes, this is the one, if you remember, fooled me when he jumped up and ran that big race to win. Wait a minute. I think they sent me the wrong horse. Yeah, I apologize. I do not have the Godolphin El Cordobes horse. Apparently, there's an El Cordobes that was foaled in Kentucky that we have. So we don't have him. So we're going to start with Ombudsman. Oh, well. My bad. I ordered the thoroughgraphs for the horses, and I didn't specify, and we got a wasted sheet. So, okay, Ombudsman. This is a Godolphin horse trained by John and Thaddy Gosden, not Charlie Appleby. Godolphin, they're all bred. They're all, serious. No starts at 2. At 3, what do we got? We got 7 1/4, 9, 6, 5. Okay for turf. Not so great for dirt over here in the States, but for turf, first season, okay. Pretty good actually, but at 4, holy shit, excuse my language, got a lot better. 2, 0 and 3/4, 1 1/4, 1 3/4. Now, running Saturday, then if he runs in, comes for the Breeders' Cup, would be running back awfully quick off a very, very, very big race. So you know he's going to be all in. So let's see what he does Saturday. But you know, taking that out of the equation, this is a very, very serious, fast turf horse with just great numbers: 2, 0 and 3/4, 1 1/4, 1 3/4. You know, he's steadily, you know, running those 1s and 0s. I would tend to think he would reproduce that. And if he takes to the hard turf course over here, and you would like to think that if they bring him here, he's telling them something that, you know, makes them think that he would like the hard turf course, then, you know, like the Godolphin El Cordobes, whose form I don't have, came here and exploded on a hard turf course that he liked. So in comparison, we'll look at Rebels Romance, who's a Breeders' Cup turf winner, ×2, who we loved in the first race that he won. There's even a promo video of me saying that this is one of the Dolphins' most likely winners. This horse has run all over the world, all over the place. His sheet starts at 4. You don't even have 2 and 3. That's how often this horse is ran. But we'll just look at this year, 7 years old, okay? 2 1/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 2 1/2, 2 1/4, 2 1/4. Every time this horse brings a 2. You go back to last year, 1 3/4, 0 1/2, 2, 3 1/2, 3, 2. He's got that 0 1/2 last year and 1 3/4 last year, so might have been a little faster at his best. But I mean, you go back to his 4-year-old year and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 2s in a row and a 0. This horse, I mean, there's no knocking him. I mean, he's probably going to run another 2, which puts him right there. If he goes forward off of that at 7 years old and runs a 1 or a 0, really makes him tough. But interestingly, if he does come and bring that consistent 2, which he's running every start that he's run at 7, well, Ombudsman's running 1s. Program trading, intriguing horse, long layoff, 2 starts back, and I believe that Chad, this has always been a very talented horse in Chad's barn. I think he's pointing for this race, so I expect a forward move. And you know what? His patterns tell me a forward move is coming. You know, last year at 4, he only had 2 starts, 4, 2 1/2. This year at 5, off that big layoff, he's got a 4 3/4, then a 2 1/2. I think he's coming to a peak race. I think he goes a point or 2, maybe even 3 forward to a 0 negative, and I think that makes him a dangerous horse for the Americans. Tough for the Americans to win this race, but if anybody can, it's Chad. I mean, that goes without saying. And I think he's got a sneaky horse that's going to be a little forgotten and a little under the radar, that's coming in sneaky and dangerous and getting better. And his best probably is fast enough. Gold Phoenix, steady as a rock out in California. We'll go 2 years back. We'll start at 6. He's now 7, like Rebels Romance. He's been around a while. 9, 4 1/4, 4 1/2, 4 1/4, 3 1/4, 2 3/4. Comes back at 7. Old man still does it. 4 1/2, 4, 4, 3, 4. He's a 3-4 steady kind of horse that's very, very dominant out there in California against that competition. He's used to beating up on when things go his way, but I don't think it's fast enough to win this race. And that's about as fast as he's ever been. So I think he's going to be up against it. And I think because of my screw up on El Cordobes, that's all we got for the turf. Oh no. No, I'm going to come through because that's what we do. We come through. Mini Hawk. Mini Hawk, the gal. We got her sheep. This is a 3-year-old filly that would be a force in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf against older, and would even be a force in the Breeders' Cup Turf against the boys, older. Second in the ARC, and run a heck of a race. At 2, what do we got? 14 and a half, 13 and 3/4. Not great numbers. Did go forward, but not great numbers. What do we got here? We got at 3, 9, 5, 6 and 3/4, 4, and then the big race in the ARC at Longchamp, 2 and 3/4. Now, she would have to go forward again, but 2 and 3/4 off that race in the ARC. And you know, other than Enable and maybe a couple of others, a lot of horses running the ARC. You know, it's such a tough, grueling race. They don't come back and run good in the Breeders' Cup if they even come. And I don't think the win is coming. I hope he does. Darcis, whatever his name is, but the Aga Khan's horse. But I don't know that he's coming. But if he does, you know, any horse that can run first or second in the ARC is going to be dangerous. But this 3-year-old filly is lightly raced, is getting good, is just oozing class and talent, and it's got to be a little bit, you know, a little. Got to take her seriously. Got to take her seriously if she shows up. So we'll see, and if she shows up in this race, Mini Hawk definitely dangerous. So stay tuned for more on the Breeders' Cup Turf as the field sorts itself out. We know who's going where, who's coming, and you know, I will be watching glued to the big screen on Saturday morning for Quipco Champions Day, because we may see some clues in a couple of those races about horses that are going to come here on short rest. And I love to look for horses in those races that didn't have things go their way and then come back off short rest, and they have the potential to have things go their way over here. So let's see what happens in that race, and we'll come back. And I think all we got left is this epic classic to take a quick look at. And we did take a Thorograph look at the Breeders' Cup Classic early, about a month ago. But now we'll take a more recent look at the Breeders' Cup Classic by the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns and see what they reveal. Oh, yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, we direct your attention to the winner's circle for a very special presentation. Representatives from Handicapping for Horses, along with professional handicapper Jonathan Stetton, are proud to support the work of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Old Friends. Accepting the check for the inaugural Handicapping for Horses event this past summer at Saratoga are representatives from the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Old Friends. Gulfstream Park welcomes Michael Blowen, Jonathan Stetton, Kelly Stovey, Jim Rhodes here this afternoon. Since 2012, the TAA has awarded more than $17.2 million to accredited organizations. Handicapping for Horses looks to make their Saratoga Springs event larger and raise money for Thoroughbreds Aftercare year after year. Once again, thank you to Handicapping for Horses, Jonathan Stetton, and welcome to Old Friends and our friends at the TAA. The Rainbow Six and race number 5 up next.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, the biggest races at the best tracks. From the Kentucky Derby to the Breeders' Cup. The best horse racing coverage is right here on Past the Wire TV.
dynasty in motion, reshaping the sport's greatest tradition, channeling the legends of his line and surpassing them. 4 of the last 6 Derby winners carry his genes. A Golden Son, a Horse of the Year. Another chapter written beneath those iconic spires. Derby dreams fulfilled for the titans of our industry. From authentic to sovereignty, a legacy both real and supreme. Into mischief.
Well, you know I was going to be there anyway, but she's going to be there too, so that's a good thing. We're going to be trying to win, taking some big shots. But back to the matters at hand. The Classic promises to be an epic one. We've got some great 3-year-olds. We've got some solid older horses. We've got forget about it. Just a wide assortment. I did Sovereignty, Fierceness, Sierra Leone, Mind Frame, and Nevada Beach. I thought I had to throw in Nevada Beach because, you know, people are downplaying him to the other 3-year-olds like Sovereignty and Journalism and Baeza. But let me tell you something. Kicking Full Serrano's ass, who won the Breeders' Cup Mile last year easily, and come back at a race under the belt where this horse was on the, off a layoff. I think Nevada Beach has to be taken very seriously off that alone. And I don't think he gets the respect that he deserves for beating older horses. He's the only one of these 3-year-olds that's beat older horses. And it's Bob at Del Mar. So I think that horse deserves a lot of respect. I don't know that he's getting it, but we'll see what the numbers and patterns say. You know, everybody that I hear or talk to or see, they like one of 2 horses. They like Sovereignty or they like Fierceness. And that's all I hear. And I love that because, you know, maybe they don't win Sovereignty and Fierceness. So that would be great. And Sovereignty, you know, he's been going hard and steady and winning really easily, like a machine all year long. But what do I always say? Those of you that watch the show and follow me and ride with me, horses are not machines. Maybe he's due to throw in a dud. Maybe the traveling out west and the new track might trigger it. Fierceness, we know, loves that track. He had that weird trip when he ducked in and still won. So, you know, we'll see. But let's see what the numbers say and how they shape up on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horses, and then we'll go from there. Sovereignty at 2, 9.5, 5, 5 3/4. At 3, got a lot better. 1 3/4, 1 3/4, 0, 0, 2.5 negative, 2.5 negative. Monster numbers, monster pattern. Looks like he's actually going to go forward. So the only thing that I say about his pattern that there's nothing about his pattern that says he's not going to go forward. The only thing I'll say is they're not machines. He's got to ship out west, and you know, maybe we see the regression, but there's really nothing in his pattern that says that. And if you want to just isolate the pattern and say strictly pattern, his pattern is a monster. And I wouldn't be surprised if he run a 3 or 4 negative. What do you think of that? And run a monster race. And I wouldn't be surprised if he finally bounces or regresses either. So Sovereignty looks like a monster. Looks like everything is going right. But I, being the skeptic that I am, and knowing that he's a racehorse, not a machine, I've always got that little bit of something in me that says, you know what? Maybe this is the day we can beat him. Fierceness, another one that Fierceness is interesting because he kind of went from an in and outer that we all thought had to have things, or many of us thought had to have things his own way. Then we thought he doesn't like it on the inside. And he just keeps saying, you know what? You're all wrong. I could win when I'm in the mood to win. And he has. 2-year-old, always fast. 3.5, 12, 1.5 negative at the Breeders' Cup, at 2-year-old, at Santa Anita way back when. Okay, at 3, 4.5, 3.25 negative, 12 dud, 1 negative, 1.5 negative, 1.5 negative. Very fast at 3. At 4, 3.25 negative off the bench, 1 negative, 1 negative, 2 negative. This horse run 1, 2, 3, 4 negative numbers in a row. Now goes to Del Mar, a track we know he likes. His numbers at Del Mar are 1 negative, 1.5 negative before this. He's another one. 2, 3, 4 negative. Easy. I could see it. I don't see him regressing. I don't see him going the wrong way. I don't see those nicks in the armor that we saw or thought we saw before, where hey, he needs the inside, or hey, if things don't go his way, nah. Fierceness is serious. Sierra Leone, we know he's serious and has been for a long time, and we know he shows up on the biggest of days. He showed up in the Kentucky Derby and could have won it, but for a jump or two, and was right there on the wire. Breeders' Cup Classic, he win it last year. Whitney, which was the early goal, win it. Now the next goal was the Breeders' Cup Classic. Here he is. I personally think he took the worst of what happened in that race at Saratoga, or certainly as bad as any. But that's, a subjective matter of opinion and not really for debate here. But let's look at his numbers and patterns. We got, as a 2-year-old, 9, 4 3/4. As a 3-year-old, 4.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.25, 1, 0 3/4, and then bang, when he got that pace set up and peaked, he runs a 4 negative at Del Mar to win the Classic. Fastest race of anybody in here. If he repeats that, those others are going to have to jump forward to contend with him if he repeats that. And he may. This year, Fairgrounds, what do we got? We got a 0 3/4. Churchill Downs, 1.25 negative. Whitney, 3 negative. Comes back 1.5 negative number. Now fresh going into Del Mar. Looks like he's going to go forward. Didn't have the best of trips last time. I think with a serious pace like we had last time, Sierra Leone is going into the Breeders' Cup Classic with a very dangerous pattern and with numbers fast enough to win this race without question. Mind frame. As good as Mind frame is, and he's very good, he's going to have to run a little faster. And he may. No starts at 2, at 3, 0 3/4, 4, 0 3/4, 0 3/4. That was at 3, I'm sorry. At 4, 0 3, 0 3/4, 0 3/4, 0.5 negative. Loses the rider last time out. Well, I guess he had it the worst of anybody last time because he actually lost the rider. But now comes back off of that fiasco, and his numbers are going the right way. He's got a 0.5 negative, probably going to go forward again, and that puts him, 1, 2, maybe 3 negative right in there. But he's going to have to go forward again. He hasn't run a race yet fast enough to win this, where some of these others have. So he's one that you're taking on the come. He's got a pattern that suggests he's going to do it, but again, you're taking him on the come as opposed to those that are already proven they can run that fast. Nevada Beach. Am I right to put him in here, or am I wrong? We got nothing at 2, but at 3 we got what? We got 6 1/4, we got 4, we got 3.5, we got 1 3/4 negative. Like Sovereignty, unbelievable pattern, gets better every time. And I don't, this is a truly remarkable pattern, because it's not that slow, steady progression that I like. It's actually a little better than that. It's progression, but not those big jumps that I say, that scares me a little bit. But it's not that like slow climb either. It's like bang, 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 bang. How good am I? Nobody knows. I love this pattern when you see him. This is the pattern of a horse that just hasn't bottomed out yet, and you just don't know how good he can be. And off a 1 3/4 negative, he can go to a 2, 3, 4 negative like that, especially for Bob, especially out west in his own backyard in California. So Nevada Beach, another one, very dangerous. So, how we're going to have to attack this classic, and we'll do it for the seminar and we'll do it for our wagering, is we're going to have to really, really look at the pace, who's going to be running early, and how much is that going to weaken them, and who's going to be running late, and who's going to be running fastest enough to win late, and how the track is playing. Really going to have to take some notes and delve deep into the PPs, and more so delve deep into the pace, because look what the pace did last year for Sierra Leone. The pace makes the race. We know that saying, and the classic looks like a race where that's really going to be like paramount. So we're going to have to handle that like what? A well-oiled machine. And we will do so. So, all right. Thanks for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, if I can get a race in by the Thorograph Numbers and Patterns, a full race, let me know in the comments who you want it to be. And I'll try and do the race that most people ask for. If I can do a race, please don't hold me to it, because it's a busy, busy, busy week. And a lot of my attention is going to go into really preparing and studying for the seminar, and just finding some really, really good shots to take and some really, really good shots to bet against. So that's what we're going to really, be focused on. And I'm going to shy away from everything that takes my focus away from that. But I will try and do one of these shows for all of you. If you really want it, let me know in the comments. Yeah, John, try and get it done. Hit the like button, subscribe, and let me know if we do it, what race you want, and the race that wins the vote. If you even want another race, that'll be the one that I will try and do. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope to see all of you at the seminar. It's going to be a PDF that you can print, download, and whatnot with everything written on it. But it's also going to have some links to video, and we are going to have a live Q&A for those that have seats in the seminar or get the PDF. You're going to have a private link for the live Q&A where you could ask me anything about any horse or anything that I put on the PDF. So, like I said, well-oiled machine is what we're going to try and have and try and do. And hopefully we could do some damage out there. So that's a wrap. The Thorograph race of the week this week, I think, is the Ravens Run at Keeneland. We'll see how that shapes up. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate all of your time. Ciao, ciao. Oh, yeah.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, head into the final front. Sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Hey, I'm Juliet. When it comes to the sport of kings, I only trust one source. Past the Wire TV.
Nobody does it better.